On this episode of I Buy Too Many Skirmish Games for My Own Good, Renegade Zero Edition. So, Renegades is a small indie game that is currently in Zero Edition, which is kind of a playtesting thing. Very small box, very cool. It's got a little chart on the back to keep track of objectives and whatnot in the game, but it is ridiculously tiny, especially for what you get inside. The first thing that you'll notice is that you get a little booklet that has like the basics, right? So you have your action basics. Soldiers have 2 actions, no repeats. You have your basic stuff, like you got your move, so you can spend 1 AP to move, 2 to dash. You got your basic defend, right? You can spend 1 AP to defend, 2 AP for 2 defense. Easy enough math. And then you can fire a weapon, and it's 1 AP to hit or 2 AP for 1 reroll. And always in this game, there's always 1 reroll, no matter what you do. It's also got your list of conditions for your firing your weapon, for your target and whatnot. And it's got all the different qualifiers you need. And then you have your interactions, which would be to flip the switch, so to speak. So you have 1 to interact, and just like fighting and shooting your weapon, you have 2 APs for reroll, right? And then you have your melee fighting, which is just the same formula. You have 1 AP to attack, 2 AP for 1 reroll. And it has the same, basic conditions that you need for the melee attack, like for your targeting or whatnot. So it tells you who you can target, what you can target, all that greater stuff. Easy enough. So we move on here. We have the anatomy of the turn here. So you have your initiative phase, right, with all the steps there. You got your action phase, all right. So it's fairly simple. Anyone who has played any kind of skirmish game or whatsoever will pretty much, recognize how this works. It's pretty simple. You've got on the back, it gives you all your different, the general rules, like your natural 6 is a crit plus 1 damage. Your rerolls are only once. You have your desperate and your fluke, which is desperate, odd rolls fail. You can never land a crit. Fluke, all rolls except 6 fail, land no crits. You've got your shaken and expended, and that's this little token I'm holding up there. That would be if you're thrown off balance, or if you're damaged, you would get the shaken, and expended is when you've used all your actions, right? You got your defense tokens, and you've got your special effects tokens. And the special effects tokens are to track your squad abilities or whatnot. And then you got reinforcement sites, where you would redeploy all of your people if you need to redeploy anything. The game also comes with a bunch of dice. You get the little red guy there is health. The black one is vitality. Those red and blue ones, those are each for points and resources. And then this little blip token there, that is your objective token. And that's kind of where everything comes in. That's all the basics of the game itself. The manual is actually listed online. So we'll get to that right here. So as you can see, this is the main site for Renegades. It's got the cover art is awesome. It kind of reminds me of the game Stalker. So you first off get kind of a game overview, and it's just like any other skirmish game. You have your board, which is 2 to 3 feet, with your scatter terrain in it. There's a little bit of background in here, a little bit of fluff, just the right amount of fluff for a game this small. It goes over your turn. The turn order, the initiative phase, updating the turn counter, the squad points, and deciding initiative. The action phase, which, is pretty self-explanatory. You got the game timeline. It explains dice. So you get your information on 1, being a failure, 6 being a success. So it's got all the different information here. So everything is going to be a D6 or a D3, which is half of a D6, easy enough. So, it uses just standard dice, you can pretty much pull dice out of just about any game, make or print your own tokens, and just roll with it and see what happens. The game is really simple to start, really simple to get into, and since it's miniatures agnostic, you can pretty much use anything you want. So to move on, it goes over your desperate rolls and your fluke rolls. The fluke is like all of this is like a last ditch effort kind of deal. So your desperate rolls are odd numbers count as a miss or a failure, even if that roll would normally cause a hit, and the fluke, apart from 6, everything is a miss. So, desperate and fluke rolls cannot crit as well. That's one thing that I'm not, that's a big thing also. You got your rerolls. There can only ever be one reroll. That's simple enough. You have your vitality, which covers just the health level of your soldiers, and that's what the dice in the box are for, the red ones. So if they hit 0, they're taken out of play. You have your shaken and expended. So if you're reduced to 1 action point when you're shaken, and that happens when you get thrown off balance or take damage, right? So you get 1 action point, and then when you have no action points remaining, you become expended, which is the X token that's on the back there. So you would just flip it and be done with it. So that's easy enough to track on here. And as you can see, they've got some really nice art here. Whoever painted that, was a pretty good paint job. It's a good example of what it looks like to be in the battlefield. You got to go to tokens and your dice for tracking wounds or whatnot. So you got your action points for this guy. So you'll be using the double-sided tokens if you buy the box, which I would encourage. I mean, you can print your own tokens, but the box is really cheap. It's for what you get in it. It moves on to explain your defense rolls. So it just basically, obviously, defense makes your soldier harder to hit, reduces incoming critical hits to regular hits, which is a good thing. You have your special effects, so any squad abilities, you track that with the exclamation point token that comes in the box. And you have your reinforcement sites, of course, and of course it's got the the link here to buy Renegades Edition 0. It comes with the sexy box and the tokens and the dice. So it moves on to explain your actions, which we've kind of gone over the actions a little bit so far. So we'll just kind of roll over that. You do have free actions, so they don't have an AP cost, but there is a limit on repeating them. You have special rules for reactions as well. And I'm just going to basically just skim over this stuff. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because obviously you can just come to the website and have a look at all this stuff. But I'm just kind of showcasing over the fact that this is really, really a simple game, and it's really good intro game for anybody. So all your squad abilities, there are normal ones that you can use as like an action, right? So that's your common ones, and you have your epic actions that are once per game or once per turn. And then you have your passive ones, and you have your squad points that are awarded, as mentioned in the game overview chapter, so you can skim over to that. And then on the site here, there is also a section that shows you how to create your squad. It gives you your roster, your credits, the rare and unique soldiers, specialisms, all of the basics for creating a squad. And there are a lot of options here. Now, obviously, since you can use any miniatures you want, you can actually just, take them from Games Workshop, from Mantic. You can print your own if you want, or you can just crack open a board game and just pull some miniatures out and use those. It's kind of sky's the limit. That's why I love games like this, like Stargrave, Frostgrave, Renegades in this case. I have yet to play it, but I'm kind of looking forward to trying it since it's like a kind of quick and dirty. So you have a lot of options here with your soldiers. And of course, when you're creating your squad, you have your basic stats for all of your soldiers here. The example roster that we've got here is pretty interesting. It is actually just kind of like an orcish squad. So these guys are just a simple like orcish destruction team like orcs will be. So you've got your squad roster. You got your elites, your heavies. It's got the total of credits that was used, and it's got your specialisms, which you can look up the specialisms on the table and tell what they do. And it just gives kind of a basic overview of how much credits they cost, what they're equipped with, and the one unique, one rare, and the rest are just regular dudes. So fairly simple. So you got your stats. Obviously, vitality is health. How many slots they have available for equipment, their action points, their movement, special rules, and then you have your equipment stats, which is required slots, range, number of shots, strikes. You got your damage and any unique special rules that you get for them as well. And it goes on to explain the different special rules here, like hardened. Hardened to me feels like just extra armor. So if you have a unit that's hardened, they've got just that little bit of extra vitality on top of having armor. You've got things like regeneration, piercing, suppressive, precise, hip fire, all of these different abilities that they can have. All of them are explained, and all of them are very simple. All of these abilities are really easy to comprehend. There's nothing crazy in here that you need 20 million dice and different piles of stuff. So you have your squad creation rules. You recruit, you equip, you specialize. It's very simple. There are different kinds of soldiers as well, and I'll just kind of like skim over them here, but I'm not going to sit there and read every single one because obviously this is all free on the website. I just kind of wanted to showcase the ease of use here for these. You've got your minions, you've got your troopers, you got your elites and your heavies. And these are, they each have their own different stats and their own different abilities. And this is all, like I said, it's all free on the website. So, you can come here and have a look at it, no problem, anytime. You got your equipment, your ranged weapons. You've got your the stats for each of the weapons, the damage, the range and all that, the slots. You got your melee weapons. You got your items as well. And what they can do. Easy and simple here to comprehend. And then you've got your squad specialisms. Now this is where the game gets kind of in depth. As you can see down at the bottom there, all of those little boxes are the different specialisms. They all have their own color code, and you can go through and have a look at each one of these things. There's a lot here, so I'm not going to go through them all. Most definitely not. The video would be prohibitively long if I did. But for this guy, you have your hunters. So obviously they're like your trap layers and your guys that are going to be specializing on one particular enemy and tracking and tracing that one enemy. And each of the specialisms has their own different thing. You got your general, you got your ranged, you got your melee, you have your mobility troops, like rangers and commandos or whatnot, and then you have your stealth troops as well, and your wild cards, and each of them has their own thing that they can do. It's pretty interesting. All of these things are pretty simple to comprehend, and they get their own abilities. Now, after you kind of get a handle on that, you move on to playing the game, picking a mission, deploying your squads, starting the game. Now, anybody who has played any kind of skirmish, Warhammer or whatnot, you will recognize this particular aspect of things. You know, you have your objectives, your victory conditions, how many turns, and the type of game that you're going to be playing. For instance, this one here, control and command, head-to-head, 6 turns, 3 areas, and victory condition is the highest amount of victory points. So you get points for controlling those areas, and that's pretty standard fare. There are quite a few missions listed here. You know, and all of them have their own special thing. You got your demolition crew, you have eye on the prize, random one, and the random one, of course, you roll one. Now, again, anybody who's played Warhammer would be familiar with deployment zones and your battle lines. You have all of these different options that you can choose from, including a random one where you roll a random scenario, which is very neat. And then you have down at the bottom, it's got your final checklist and the start of the game. So this is, there is a site there. This is the site where you would pick up the cheat sheet that you can download and print, and that is free, or you can pay what you will. And on that same site, you can actually purchase the game, it's very cheap, very inexpensive for what you get out of it. It'd be interesting for anybody who wants to kind of pick up the game and try it for just a simple skirmish game. So that's kind of an overview. You know, there are communities and whatnot that you can join for the game, and there's different resources down here that you can draw from, along with the credits down at the bottom of who designed the game. Anyway, that's just kind of like a basic overview of the game. It looks really interesting. I hope to give it a shot at some point. But so if you've enjoyed what you've seen, like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Feel free to join me on Patreon, and follow me on Instagram if you wish. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it.